This is the show dedicated to raising up the next generation of men of faith and character. My name is Mark Stanifer. Welcome to the Next Men Up. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Good to have you with us as always. My name is Mark Stanifer, and my co-host is back in the studio today, Josh Wilson.
Good to be here.
What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for joining once again.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
So I'm going to pose something to you.
Okay. Hit me.
So typically in the guy space, the dude locked into watching the game is often understood as not paying attention to anything else, not listening to her.
Totally.
or like, right, like everything else is drowned out, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
You're tracking with me.
Absolutely.
Even if you haven't ever been accused of this, you know what I mean.
I've never done that.
Right.
I wasn't doing that this morning at all.
I could believe you. But you know, I've certainly been on the receiving end of this criticism. How's that for a diplomatic way to say it? What if that is a fantastic example of listening?
Okay, you've got me. What do you mean by that?
So what if the guy watching the game is teaching us how to listen to those around us?
Okay.
Like it's a bit of a paradigm shift. You tracking with me? Or
I'm not quite there. Help me.
okay, so let me keep going. So picture the game that's playing out on we'll call it the television.
Okay.
And the guy is locked in to what's going on the television. He's present.
Yep.
He's engaged. He knows what's happening. And the criticism comes from the detriment of blocking out or the consequence of blocking out everything else that's going on around, right?
Yeah.
But he's locked into what's happening in front of him and he's listening.
So what you're saying is he's listening, but just to the wrong thing.
Well, so if there are others in his life in that moment that might be trying to get his attention, yes, one could take that position.
Okay.
Yes. But what if we look at it a little differently? Like, what if we could listen to others the way we listen to the game and make that part of the normal way we interact with people, not just the show on television?
So what you're saying is that guys actually have practiced the art of listening really, really well, and they just need to apply it to their family.
I think that could be.
So what would that mean? So if you're keyed in to a game like that, it seems like you would be able to. I mean, you're interested in the game, obviously,
For sure.
So you're blocking out everything that's distracting you from the game, and you're engaged.
Right.
Right?
But not just with ears.
Right, your whole body, like everything is like focused that direction. So
That's
your
right.
eyes, everything is your body, everything's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if that represents a very effective and beneficial way to listen to other people, to listen to each other? Make it even more specific. Listen to your spouse, or the angle that we're going today, which is listening to your boy.
Okay. So it seems to me as though you would have like three things there. You would have you'd be communicating interest in your son. That
Yep.
like you stopped what you were doing in order to be interested in him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything else becomes a distraction, just like everything else becomes a distraction for the game. Everything else becomes a distraction for your son. Like your son's the one that's getting your attention. Everything else kind of drops into the background.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because that's communicating interest. The second thing would be that you're actually watching him Like I'm not there quite yet with my son. He's too young to get the watch me thing. But
It's coming. Let me tell you, for years, I was the recipient of Daddy Watch Me. Daddy Look at Me. Or one of the things that my boys love to do is to reenact the play, whether it was like an airsoft battle or a fantastic catch one of them made in the back. They wanted to show me that instant replay.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Daddy Watch Me. Let me show you the play.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that with my son. Like he's begging for my attention, and he gets it for the most part.
Sure.
But like other times he doesn't. Like this morning, unfortunately. So it sounds like that would be like that ability to give your full and undivided attention to what is in front of you is a real quality of manhood. The ability to focus. Right? I mean,
Yes.
I mean, when you're not able to focus, you're not living with intention. So your attention and intention kind of go together, I guess.
Yeah. So go back to the guy on the couch or on the chair watching the game, right? What is the criticism that is usually leveled at him in that moment?
Well, it's usually you're not paying attention to me.
You're not paying attention to me. You're not focused on me. You're distracted by this other thing.
Yeah, which is so funny because you're actually not distracted by the other thing. It's your wife or your child is distracting you from the thing that you actually want to pay attention to. So it's actually like a values mismatch a little bit. That you're not really living in alignment with the values that you have as a father.
So what if we do already know how to listen well? We're just listening to the wrong thing.
Okay. So it sounds like you've been down this road before, that you've done some thinking about this.
A little bit. Yeah, like so I think a couple of episodes, maybe more than a couple now, we talked about personality dispositions, right? And that was a great conversation. We just sort of scratched the surface with the Enneagram. I think there are personality types that are more inclined toward listening well.
Okay.
So I think there's some genetic disposition toward being able to listen well. I also think it's a skill that can be developed if we choose to develop it and are willing to put in the time and understand the value. And I've mentioned this before here in this context, but one of the books that I've enjoyed the most over the last few years is called The Listening Life by Adam McHugh. And he covers all kinds of topics in there, but he just drives home the point of how important it is for us to be listeners to the people around us. There's a spiritual component, there's a family component, there's a professional or just like an acquaintance component. But what I've taken not only from his book, but my own observations and just paying attention to culture, right? We don't listen well. We were having a political discussion before we turned on the microphones, right? We don't listen well in politics. We don't listen in government, in civics. We don't listen well in our relationships. It's an endangered skill.
Yes.
That could be recovered as a superpower. That's the way I like to think about it.
That's good. Do you have like some specific ways that help you become a better listener, or some skills that you could develop to do that?
Yeah, so go back to that guy sitting on the couch watching the game, right? So let's look at what is going on in that scenario and pull out the principles maybe that are taking place. So first of all, he's eliminated all the distractions, or he's focused them out. Maybe not eliminated them, but he's focused out the distractions.
He's like blocked them out.
He's blocked them out.
Okay.
So practically, how do you do that, right? Like this is maybe a little bit of an oxymoron, because we're talking about the guy watching the TV. But if you want to listen well, like in this case, we're talking specifically about boys, but this applies to any and all relationships, as does most of the truth that's out there, right? put away the distraction. So if you want to redirect your attention to the person that you want to listen to, put down the phone, turn off the television, close the laptop screen, put the book away, right? Like those all represent distractions that we take in with our eyes. Or take the headphones off, take your earbuds out, right? Like just get rid of the distractions that are going to cause you to divert your eyes or divert your ears or to divert your mind. Like that's easy in concept.
It's like it's the difference. It's like mentally cleaning up your living room. It's like, so my son has toys in the living room all the time, and they're strewn across the floor.
He's 2. It's to be expected.
Right, yeah. So the only way to navigate the living room without killing yourself is to put the toys away. And sometimes it'll help, sometimes he won't. But like clearing all that stuff away into baskets or into like storage spaces helps clear out the space that we need in order to navigate the living room well.
Declutter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. What else?
Yeah. Okay. So eliminate the distractions, which then allows you to turn your attention physically, turn your body and orient toward the person who is talking to you.
You mean like literally?
Yeah.
Like shift your entire body.
Yes.
Square your shoulders up to your son.
And make eye contact.
Make eye contact.
That's right. Turn and lock eyes. There's so much that's communicated with our nonverbals. Like 60, 70%, I can't remember the statistics, probably should have looked it up before we got on here. But it's an insanely high number, high percentage of communication is nonverbal. So when you turn your body, square up, make eye contact with that boy, what are you telling him? I'm in.
Yeah. Now I'm like super conscious of my own body language as I'm talking with you.
Yeah. Now, so what's interesting is in a group of guys, guys will tend to prefer shoulder to shoulder. A group of women will tend to prefer face to face.
Interesting.
So just observe this the next time you're out if you haven't already, or think back to the last time you had a conversation with a guy. I think guys tend more toward, I know it's been proven, guys tend more toward the shoulder to shoulder.
So like standing next to each other looking at the fire.
That's right.
Rather than sitting across from a table drinking coffee.
That's right.
Okay. Interesting.
It's a tendency. It's not a requirement. It's not a box. It's just a tendency. But when your boy wants to tell you something, or you want to tell your boy something, turn and look at him. Square up, make eye contact, and tell him with your body language that you're in.
Or it sounds like pulling him next to you to look at something together.
Or that's a good opportunity too. And that gets into another topic, which is do something together.
Okay.
Right? Like so part of our wiring and disposition, our tendency, maybe is a better way to say it, is to want to do things together. So if you have something important to share with your boy, or if your boy wants you to hear something important from him, and you're looking for maybe a way to jumpstart this or to engage him, go do something together.
Okay.
And bring the conversation into that activity.
So your activities actually become not about the activities, but as an excuse or like a venue for the conversation they actually want to have. Yeah,
they certainly can be. They can be activities just in and of themselves, memory making, right? Story building, but they can also be great opportunities to have that conversation. Because if I'm staring at you, on purpose, with intent, and with intensity, it might create a little bit of an overwhelm.
Uneasiness.
I've been told I'm a little intimidating. So another way to get around that is to do something together, shoulder to shoulder, looking at the fire, taking a walk, riding a bike, building something together, and use that as an opportunity to either communicate or to receive, right? But in the context of listening, do something together is an opportunity. It's an option.
Okay, so we've got a couple of. It seems like the first two ideas were both fairly physical. One was literally putting distractions away, flipping your phone over, tucking your book away, something like you're trying to block everything else out. And then the second is to literally take your entire body and engage with your son. Are there more physical things you can do, or are there some non-physical or emotional, relational things that you can do?
Yeah. So part of good listening is to acknowledge what you're hearing.
Okay.
So picture father and son. They're working on the car together, and boy is expressing what he wants to express, and dad's just asking for tools. Give me the wrench. Give me the hammer. Give me the right. Like
Yeah.
so instead of just taking it all in your head, play back things like, oh, so what I hear you say is fill in the blank, or it sounds like fill in the blank. It's a way to tell him not only are you physically with me, but you're tracking with me and you get me.
It sounds like what you're describing as active listening, that you're reflecting back what you're hearing.
That's exactly right.
And so you kind of like bridge the gap from the physical to the relational or non-physical, because you're physically, literally speaking back what you're hearing.
Yep. That's
Okay.
right. And, it is very much active listening, and we learn it in other contexts, but it applies totally in the home too.
Yeah, and when you're not active listening, it seems as though you're violating that first idea, which is putting away the distractions. Because if you're not actively listening, then the thing that you're doing together becomes the new distraction.
That's right.
Okay. So
back to what you were saying earlier about being focused with your attention and intention. The intention with good listening is to stay on task with whatever that conversation is in the moment, and resist the urge to get distracted by something that might be a little easier or less emotional or require less energy or whatever it is. You follow me?
Yeah, totally. So block out everything else, physically turn to face your son, actively listen.
Do something together. We talked about. The other one is maybe one that we might not think about, and I think this could be a significant leap forward for dads in particular.
Okay.
And that is to resist the urge to just fix it.
Okay.
So guys like to fix things, right? And
I like to fix things.
So I'm talking in generalities that are observed,
Okay.
and I'm talking, stereotypical. But I think, generally speaking, guys want to fix it. They just want to, like, okay, I assess the problem. I know what needs to be done. Let's go do it.
Right.
In the context of a conversation where your boy is expressing to you something, particularly something heavy or something he's struggling with, or maybe a question, a good listener doesn't immediately go right to, well, here's what you need to do to fix it.
Okay.
Now, that may come down the road, but if dads can resist the urge to fall into that fix-it trap, then what they're communicating to their boys is, I understand you. I'm feeling what you're feeling, and I'm with you. I'm for you, and I'm not just going right to, well, here's what I think needs to happen, and let's just take care of it.
Okay, but that's one of those things that seems really distinctive about men, is that we try to fix things. We try to get to an end goal. That seems to me as though it's a very male thing to do.
Right.
But if we're not doing that out the gate, how are we modeling manhood to our sons? Because as men, we want to change the world for the better around us. So is there like a technique to help arrive at a solution without dictating the solution?
Yeah, so great question. It's worth teasing this out some more. So I am not suggesting that the solution isn't important.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, don't go right to the solution. Your boy is a couple sentences in, and you're already thinking, I know what the problem is. I know how to fix it. Let's just fix it. Rather than giving him the space to articulate it and build that rapport and that connection. Maybe you're right. Maybe you get there in the end, or maybe you're completely wrong. And you have the humility and the patience to hear him all the way through. And then you can begin to work on the solution or work together. Or maybe the right answer is, you don't fix it, Dad. Maybe your son needs to own the fixing in this situation as part of that development, that responsibility and accountability that comes with manhood. I'm tossing out a bunch of different scenarios, but
I like what you're saying about having your son have to work through the solution on their own, because like our whole goal is to produce men.
That's right.
And if you're just stepping in and taking the place of problem solver and fixer, then you're not actually letting your son develop into the man who can fix problems.
That's right.
And so by not just presenting a solution out the gate, what you're really doing is training your son to think through the problem and come up with a solution on his own.
Yep.
And then evaluating the solution that he came up with rather than just providing him with a solution. Does that sound like what you're talking about?
You're empowering him to use the tool of thinking this through and coming to his own conclusions. At the same time, you're telling him that I'm not discounting you and your opinions and your thoughts and just trying to solve this problem because that's what I do as a guy or as a dad. You're telling him, I'm tracking with you. And it's more of like you were saying before, let me put my arm around you and help guide you through how we get to a fix or a solution, rather than just bark out the commands, go do this because this will solve the problem.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between the face-to-face versus the shoulder-to-shoulder thing. So like in the world of women, not that I have like a lot of expertise in the world of women because I'm not one, but in the world of women, it seems as though the important thing is to connect, to find the connection and share an experience, or not even share an experience, but like share an emotion almost.
Yep.
Share like an understanding. But like what's distinctively male is to change the world for the better, not just to connect. So that's important, and we're supposed to connect as well, but to connect to the goal of finding a solution to a problem, making the world better. And so by going through this process and doing these specific things of giving your undivided attention and getting rid of distractions and using your body to really engage and all the other things that we've been talking about, it's really to the goal of helping your son be able to think through any situation to come up with a solution that is good and help them evaluate that solution on their own.
Yeah, that's a fantastic byproduct of showing them how to listen.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. So this is not easy.
I would imagine not.
It's not easy. It takes back to the attention and intention. But listening well can be a superpower because of the benefits that you articulated earlier on. Making those connections, letting that person know that that you understand what they're saying. Oh, and here's this is a bit of a tangent, but one of the things that was a game changer for me when it came to listening is realizing that I can listen well even if I'm in disagreement with what I'm hearing. But listening for understanding, another way to say it, does not equal agreement.
That sounds like a very 7 Habits of Highly Effective People thing. Like seek first to understand and then be understood.
That's right. And I'm not again, a bit of a tangent to where we were going here, but you may be hearing things as a dad, you may be hearing things from your boy that you disagree with. or that you don't understand, or that you want to correct or fix, right?
Yeah.
But hearing him out and trying to understand what's behind it builds that connection, that deepens that bond. And then to your point, if there is some challenge to be fixed or addressed, showing your son, helping your son get to the appropriate solution for that challenge. That's how we model manhood.
Yeah, that's really good.
All right, dads. So there's our dialogue on listening, and maybe a controversial but bit of a paradigm shift on how you can learn to listen well is observing your behavior when you're watching the game. And I know not everybody's watching the game, but you guys understand what I'm talking about. Like, what would it do in your relationships, particularly with your boy, for you to listen to him the way you listen to the game? Or listen to others that are locked into that same game. Maybe it's bringing him into the game and listening to it with him. I don't know. I'm getting carried away here. But what would it look like for you to listen well as a father to your son? And how can you move in that direction today? That's the challenge. All right, dude.
Always good to talk with you.
Always good. This was fun. Let's do it again in the near future.
Sounds great.
All right. Listeners, thanks for being with us. You know the drill. Until next time.
Adios.
Adios. Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. You know, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.